At 6:18 a.m., my neighbor, Sarah, texted me a photo. My boathouse, the one my father built, charred down to its foundation, a smoking skeleton. I was 200 miles away at a fishing expo, trying to promote our small marina business. Accidental fire, the Clearwater Bay HOA claimed. No proof it was us, they added. But I had more than proof. I had the deed, the cameras, and an illegal clause they'd conveniently forgotten existed. The moment I saw the photo, my jaw locked. I zoomed in. The dock was gone, the walls reduced to splinters. What wasn't ash had sunk or floated away. That boathouse, in my family since 1979, held every summer memory we'd ever made. I didn't wait. I left flyers on the bait counter and hit the highway like I had a fire of my own to put out. 3 hours later, pulling up to the lake felt like stepping onto a crime scene. The air still smelled faintly of smoke. The shoreline was taped off with a weak yellow string. Do not enter. Under investigation. I stepped over it. Brenda Holloway, the HOA president, spotted me from her patio. She marched over in a floral bathrobe and wedge sandals, like she was hosting brunch. No apology. It was old, unsafe, she declared. One spark and it lit up like dry pine. Then, with a smirk that made me clench my keys, technically, it was too close to the visual perimeter anyway. We've had complaints. Complaints that justified reducing my family's history to cinders? I didn't raise my voice. I raised my phone. My trail cam, set up for raccoons, showed everything. An HOA maintenance crew arriving at dawn, tools, something suspiciously flammable. 15 minutes later, smoke. Brenda showed up halfway through. She pointed. She smiled. Then she walked away. When I showed her the footage, her face drained. Her hands trembled, but her voice didn't. You're not allowed to record HOA work crews. That's a privacy violation. I told her I was recording raccoons. If they happened to commit arson, that wasn't my fault. Inside my safe, under old tax forms, was a folder, Lake Access Agreement 1993. My father signed it when the HOA needed legal permission to access the lake through our private land. No deal, no footpath, no dock, no lakeside privileges. In return, community support. But at the bottom, a clause. Any willful destruction of the grantier's private property by the grantee would void all access rights, effective immediately. That was the clause Brenda forgot, the one I was going to use like a sword. I called Michael, my lawyer. He ran his firm out of a converted ice cream parlor and wore flip-flops year-round. If this is about the HOA again, he answered, I already have tequila in my desk. I sent him the footage and the agreement. He called back, choking with laughter. They burned down your boathouse and lit their own legal access on fire. This is better than court TV. He drafted a cease and desist that afternoon. It informed the HOA their lake access privileges were terminated, effective immediately. No boats, no shoreline dock, no community kayaking. Trespassing if they stepped on my land again. The next morning, I delivered it to a young HOA intern. You might want to forward this to your lawyer, I said, and maybe buy a fire extinguisher. As I walked away, I passed the charred edge of the dock where my dad taught me to tie knots, where I first kissed my wife, where my kids caught their first fish. Gone. But ashes aren't the end. The morning after, Brenda's golf cart rolled by like nothing happened. By noon, Michael called. Good news. Cease and desist delivered. HOA's legal rep asked if we could resolve this civilly. Michael paused. I told him we are. That's what cease and desists are. Would they fight? Oh, they will, he said. But first, they'll try to twist it. Paint you as unstable. Say the fire was an accident. Blame your wiring. I snorted. The boathouse didn't have electricity. That afternoon, 2 visitors. First, a clipboard carrier named Ethan, HOA External Affairs, about 22, nervous. Hey there, just touching base to see how we can help rebuild. Smooth what over? I asked. The fire incident. The board is willing to offer assistance. In exchange, I said, for me restoring your lake access? He smiled awkwardly. Did you know? I leaned closer. You guys were technically trespassing the moment you stepped on my shoreline after that fire? Ethan's smile died. He left sweating. Second, Brenda herself, heels clacking, carrying homemade cookies. Let's not make this into something it doesn't have to be, she said, offering the cookies like a peace treaty from hell. This lake is a community resource. Funny, I said. I thought setting fire to something was the escalation. That patronizing smile. There's no direct evidence the fire was intentional. The cleanup team was only supposed to remove excess debris. So, I raised an eyebrow. Your crew burned my property without your approval? That sounds even worse. She hesitated. We're willing to rebuild it. With whose money? Insurance won't cover an accidental improvement project gone wrong. Not with video of your crew lighting it up while you supervise. Silence. She offered the cookies again. I took them, dropped them. My dog sniffed them and walked away. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to tell your residents they no longer have legal access to the lake from this side. You're going to cancel any HOA events at the water. And you're going to stay off my land until a judge tells you otherwise. Got it. Her eyes narrowed. You're going to regret this. No, I said. You are. Later, Michael called. They filed a counterclaim, trying to challenge the clause. Say it's too old, a sunset clause that expired. I laughed. Tell them property rights don't come with an expiration date. Court date, 3 weeks. I hired a contractor for reinforced fencing, motion sensors, cameras, hand-painted signs. This path is closed due to HOA-induced arson. Neighbors whispered support. One guy said, I only joined the HOA because they promised to fix the potholes. For years ago, all they've done is install birdhouses and send angry emails. Then, the drone, buzzing over my yard, black and sleek. I stared into its lens, smiled, and held up a sign. Smile, HOA. Court loves footage. The next day, an email from a resident I barely knew, a woman named Linda. I'm on the communications committee. I know what really happened to your boathouse. I have records. Want to talk? Now I had a mole. That Monday, I finished locking the last gate, custom-welded heavy steel, electronic keypad, motion-triggered floodlight. Sign bolted to it, private property. Trespassers will be filmed and fined. By afternoon, a golf cart caravan. Brenda, her VP Roger, a retired dentist who once tried to fine me for parking my canoe too diagonally, and 2 more board members. They stood at the gate, staring. Brenda raised her clipboard. You can't do this. You're violating Article 16, Shared Amenities Access. I walked down, sipping coffee, wearing a bathrobe. Boathouse survivor. I hit the remote. Floodlight on. Gate stayed shut. Roger puffed up. We have a community lake event scheduled this weekend. Kayak races. Then I'd recommend finding a different shore. This lake doesn't belong to you. You're right, I said. But the access path does. And that boathouse you incinerated was the physical condition that allowed you to cross it. No boathouse, no access. Agreement says so. Brenda tried. The clause is decades old. Unenforceable. Argue that in court. Until then, obey the document your board signed. She turned a shade of red that could have boiled water. Within the hour, a letter taped to my gate. HOA logo, calling my gate a violation of visual standards, threatening a $200 daily fine. I laughed, scanned it to Michael. This is gold, he replied. The next day, they tried to paddle around the back. I watched from a lawn chair as one got stuck in lake muck. When they reached my land, new motion cameras clicked, floodlights blazed, and a recorded voice boomed. You are trespassing on private property. This area is under video surveillance. Leave immediately. They panicked. One dropped a paddle, another flipped. That night, someone egged my mailbox. I upgraded the speaker system. My dog's vet, who owed me a favor, recorded a new message with his booming southern draw. Y'all are trespassing on restricted lakefront land. Turn that canoe around or the sheriff's coming for ya before you even dry off. Word spread. HOA canceled their lake event. Friday morning, Linda, the mole, called. I just left the HOA planning meeting. You're not going to believe this. Try me. They're planning to fake an environmental issue to get your property declared a shared conservation zone. If that happens, they think they can override your gate through emergency lake access laws. That's real. Sort of. Only valid in actual emergencies, not because they want to host chili cook-offs. She sent screenshots, meeting notes, emails, a photo of a dry erase board, lake conservation option, fast-track eviction. I forwarded it all to Michael. He called back, barely able to breathe from laughing. This is exactly the kind of overreach judges love to spank. I called the sheriff myself, explained everything. If anyone sets foot past your fence without permission, They're trespassing. You've got my word. The week before court, a clipboard army with a conservation flag and a fake biologist allergic to water appeared. Brenda, smiling, introduced Dr. Alastair Finch, here to conduct a lake health assessment due to unusual algae and erosion possibly linked to recent construction. Construction? I said. You mean my locked gate? Dr. Finch sneezed. Yes, we believe there may be a disruption in the shoreline's natural breathing pattern. The what? The breathing pattern of the lake. An aquatic ecology term. How long have you studied this lake? My first visit. Do you even swim? He coughed. I prefer not to. Allergic to pollen, frogs, shellfish, cold water. I don't actually touch lakes. I turned to Brenda. This is your expert? He's certified. Then I'm sure he can assess the lake just fine from his side of the gate. You and your algae paranoia are not crossing onto my land. She stormed off. Dr. Finch tripped and dropped his clipboard. I sent the encounter to Michael. This trial is going to be better than Netflix. The next day, Linda dropped off the HOA's emergency response plan, a map showing a shared shoreline restoration project, claiming HOA right to intervene if a private owner disrupted the lake's ecological balance. Handwritten in red. Can we pressure him with county fines? Linda whispered. Brenda thinks if she can't win legally, she can make you miserable until you give up. I smiled. Time I returned the favor. I released the trail cam clip of the fire the HOA crew, Brenda nodding, the blaze, the raccoon stealing the clipboard anonymously to a local Facebook group. Is this how our HOA handles improvements? Within hours, 10,000 views. By nightfall, local news. Brenda called it selectively edited. Then, a second angle surfaced. My neighbor across the lake filmed part of the fire, thinking it was controlled. His footage showed a panicked crew, no permits, Brenda yelling. Just get it done before he gets back. 80,000 views. The media loved it. Friday morning, county courthouse. Michael, grinning. The courtroom, small but packed. Brenda, hairsprayed like armor. Michael laid out the agreement, footage, the clause. Any willful destruction that shall result in immediate and permanent forfeiture of lake access. He handed the judge a folder. Drone footage, time-stamped trail cam recordings, eyewitness accounts, and a very enthusiastic raccoon. Brenda's team argued, clause outdated, fire and accident, board didn't authorize. Michael countered, the president of the HOA was on site, giving orders, captured on camera. This wasn't an accident. This was action. The judge didn't need a recess. This agreement is valid. The clause is clear. The HOA forfeited their rights the moment they committed property destruction. Effective immediately, the HOA is barred from accessing the lake via the plaintiff's land. Damages to be assessed in civil court. Brenda gasped. Justice. The Monday after, I hired a local builder. Eco-friendly, fire-resistant siding, metal roof, solar panels, reinforced dock, razor-sharp security cameras. Construction began loud. Some of us didn't agree. We thought it was a cleanup. Brenda handled the details. You helped vote for it. Yeah, but half the board is talking about stepping down. We're sorry. You or the HOA? Me? Then we're good. You might want to suggest something to your friends. Cut your losses before the next shoe drops. That shoe? A separate civil suit for damages, equipment, lost revenue from my marina. My new boathouse was almost complete. Neighbors brought brownies, beer. We've been wanting to quit the HOA for years. Thank you for blowing it up. A real estate agent called. Your lakefront property is the only one not bound by HOA restrictions. More valuable. Triple, maybe more. Not selling. Next Friday, a boathouse warming party. Open invitations, except HOA board. Shirts, clause activated. Kids played, adults lounged. Brenda watched from her porch, binoculars in hand. A few days later, she resigned. Personal matters. The state HOA Oversight Committee opened an investigation based on my evidence. Missing receipts, unauthorized spending, fraudulent insurance claim. An audit. The final numbers from civil court, 6 figures. They owed more than their reserve. Either individual board members pay up, or they fold. Michael grinned. I told him I'd waive half if the HOA voluntarily dissolved in 60 days, signed over the access trail lease, and issued a formal, notarized apology. A vote was held, 70% agreed. Disband. A quiet note on the community mailbox. That's it. I expanded the dock, started a youth sailing club. A developer offered triple for the land. No, this was my family's story. One evening, Brenda appeared. No sun visor, no clipboard. Tired. I didn't come to fight. I came to say you were right. I pushed too far. I lost friends, my position, my reputation. I deserve that. I hope the neighborhood becomes better now. We'll be fine. I know. She paused. That raccoon still lives under my deck, by the way. I almost laughed. I dipped my fingers in the water. Cold, clean, still mine. They thought one fire would scare me off. They didn't know I kept receipts. They didn't know I had the claws. The shoreline is mine.